Hello everyone, my name is Mahadeo Sukhai. I'm the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of IdeaSTEM. Today I want to talk to you about fairness and how we think about fairness in our society. Do you remember how we learned fairness when we were kids? We learned on the playground that everyone needed to have a turn. But is that what fairness really is? I am learning or relearning so many things through my daughter's perspective as she learns. I've been with her in playgrounds and activity centers enough now to hear and sometimes even say, it's time for someone else's turn now. We follow that up with, it's only fair for others to take a turn. We teach our kids that fairness is that everyone has to have the same thing. Everyone has to have a turn. We do this in the playground. We do this at birthday parties where all the guests have to have loot bags. We don't teach them about the other meaning of fairness, which is that everyone needs the opportunity to be successful when they take their turn. They need to have the chance to try to make that work. Canadians with disabilities comprise 27% of the population of Canada, but scientists with disabilities make up a much smaller percentage of the STEM workforce in this country. One possible reason for that is that scientists with disabilities either cannot get jobs within the STEM sector or do not stay within the STEM workforce. Given a growing perception of talent shortages in STEM and the notion that scientists with disabilities represent this potentially untapped workforce solution, understanding what barriers exist to our participation as scientists with disabilities in the STEM workforce is timely, is relevant, and is even an urgent issue in science, technology, innovation, and knowledge policy. So my team and I approach this through a human lens. People work with other people. Oh my gosh, what a novel concept. People actually work with people. Therefore, we wanted to understand the attitudes and perspectives towards scientists with disabilities among the Canadian public, including those who would be their colleagues. We believe that in doing that, we would learn something fundamental about the workplace environment for and barriers experienced by scientists with disabilities. Most work that addresses barriers experienced by workers or students belonging to equity-owed groups, including disability in STEM, tends to focus on surface-level environmental factors, physical accessibility, for example, most commonly, lack of technology solutions less commonly, or policy and practice barriers related to the provision of workplace accessibility supports. Now, all of those barriers are very real and very valid, but they're still underpinned by an unacknowledged reluctance on the part of colleagues and supervisors and organizational leadership to work to address these barriers in a meaningful way. And so we sought to understand why, by focusing on attitudes and biases that people may have about working with scientists with disabilities. Here's how we set this study up. We asked 2,000 Canadian adults, representative of the country as a whole, a bunch of questions about disability and about disability in science. The whole thing hinged on two questions. Effectively, question one was, what do you think fair means? And you had to choose between equal treatment and equal opportunity for success. Those were your only choices, and you could not put one thing at some point, one thing at a different point. You could not put I didn't know. You could not put both. You could not put neither. You could not put other, fill in the blank. The second question was, what matters more? Being able to achieve an outcome, do a task, or the process that it takes to get to that outcome or to do that task. Again, these were your only options, and you were not allowed to put both, neither, other, sometimes one, sometimes the other, don't know. For the first question, almost exactly 3/4 of respondents said fair is equal treatment. The remaining 1/4 said fair is equal opportunity for success. For the second question, almost exactly 3/4 of respondents said outcome matters more. Everyone else said process matters more. Interestingly, how you answered the first question had no bearing whatsoever on how you answered the second question, which meant that we could divide the population into 4 groups of adults. Group number 1, fair is equal treatment. and outcome matters over process. That's 56% of the adult population according to the study. Group number 2, fair is equal opportunity for success and outcome matters over process. That's about 18%, just shy of 1 in 5. Another 18%, just shy of 1 in 5, said fair is equal treatment, process matters more than outcome. And then the remainder said fair is equal opportunity for success and process matters over outcome. So roughly a 9-3 to 3-1 ratio. As it turns out, the answers to these 2 questions in relation to the remainder of the questions in the study told us some pretty amazing things. Here are 2 critical aspects of our findings. First, that Canadian adults displayed a degree of what's called NIMBYism. NIMBY is an acronym for not in my backyard, with respect to disability and accessibility in the workplace. So we know that because respondents are theoretically welcoming of disability and accessibility. But when we move from the theoretical to the practical to the this is my responsibility to actually do this, to hire a person with a disability, if given a choice, workers would be much more reluctant to hire that disabled scientist than they would be theoretically welcoming, right? The second key finding is that that reluctance is influenced by several factors, including knowledge about disability, one's level of comfort or experience with persons with disabilities, and importantly, how we thought about fairness and outcome. So as you might expect, if somebody knew more about disability, if somebody was closer in their lived experience to disability, they were more welcoming of scientists with disabilities in their organization. If you said process over outcome and fair is equal opportunity for success, you were most welcoming of scientists with disabilities in your organization. If you said fair is equal treatment and outcome over process, you were least welcoming of scientists with disabilities, right? Let's go back to what I said earlier. We are teaching our kids that same is fair, trademark and copyright pending, along with the t-shirts, from a very young age. And they learn from us not long afterward that outcome matters over process. The majority of us believe this. We teach our kids this, and it propagates to the next generation without us even trying. We have fundamentally built our world and our concepts of who belongs and who doesn't on playground fairness. Maybe, just maybe, we need to consider teaching our children the other extreme, that fairness is defined by equal opportunity for success and that process matters more than outcome. This might just be the best thing that we can do for the next generation and for the future of our world.